Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Andy with Integrity Data Insights, and I help other people with their data and reporting needs. And I'm excited to have my guest with me today, Michael Howard from Nichefire. And we'll get into all of what that company does. But Michael, thanks so much for joining me today.
For sure. Andy, thanks for having me on. And I think you forgot to mention that you're also a killer drummer too, based on that LinkedIn video I saw earlier.
I don't know. I don't know. I appreciate that. A lot of takes, and I'm kind of a hack. But I appreciate you. Yeah, I have a segment called Drums and Data that I just released today. Um, but I haven't decided if it's I when I first put it out there, I always tell people it's either the best idea or the worst idea I've ever.
I love it. I love it. I mean, you can see by my room and whatnot. I have like a guitar. I have guitars all over my wall over there too. So I,
Oh,
I
do
love
you?
music. I love jamming. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. There's my drum set's actually right over here. But so my office is kind of a reflection of kind of my personality where it's I have a lot of
Mm,
different interests and things. But well, thanks you so much for watching that. That's really great.
of course.
So so Michael, I met Michael a couple not too long ago actually at a Cincy AI meetup, and I just after Michael got up and talked about what he did, I'm like, oh, this is super cool. I got to talk to this guy. So that's what brought us here. But before we get into niche fire specifically, I just wanted to talk about kind of maybe lay the groundwork for some of the concepts that your product and company covers, like things like cultural listening, I think you call it, and
Mm,
social intelligence. Get us up to speed on what those terms mean.
yeah. So I'll start by addressing that social intelligence piece because that's kind of like an umbrella. So first off, those in my space, you may know a bit more about what social listening is. So social listening,
Correct.
it's monitoring online on conversations. It's looking at digital content to understand what people are saying about a brand or product, the industry, or a known topic or something like that. And social intelligence, it really expands on that. Not only monitoring and analyzing those online conversations, but also like transforming these insights into actionable strategies. So it integrates data from various sources, social media, forums, news, that sort of thing, to provide more of a comprehensive understanding of how people think, feel, how they act. So social intelligence enables brands to really anticipate those kinds of things and respond to audience needs and adapt to those cultural dynamics. And so we at Nichefire, we've more or less like crafted a new category under that social intelligence umbrella. We call it cultural listening. So what cultural listening is, it's identifying, it's analyzing, it's understanding the beliefs, behaviors, values, interests that are shared by communities. Particularly as they are expressed in online conversations, in digital spaces, and what can we understand from those. But it really focuses on detecting those external societal forces. So we're looking at things like those consumer, political, economic, and societal trends that could be influencing how people think, act, and engage with brands or around the world. So now,
Yeah.
like, compared to like social listening, so like traditional unlike traditional social listening, you're doing a lot of like measuring the sentiment and mentions about that specific brand or something like that. Cultural listening really explores that broader cultural context to uncover like the why, the why behind consumer behavior and those societal shifts. And so that's what that is. That's what we
Yeah.
do.
Can you give me a little, like, give me just because I'm a concrete kind of guy. I think I understand totally. Like, but what's an example? Is it kind of like, and I don't know if they do these anymore, but a lot of places would release kind of like the top 10 trending things, or is that kind of what it is, or a little bit different? Or maybe if there are any examples of a couple that you've come across recently?
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, there's a, there's a ton that we've been working with recently. Actually, I'll share like an example around like
Sure.
GLP-1 later. So with some of the work we've done with one of our customers at Nestle. So we have a lot of customers, especially like in food and bev. So like we see things like gut health and functional foods and medicine and beverages and stuff like that, really growing in prominence, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Um, I actually have like an example around like mindful crafting and meditative crafting and that sort of thing. That's that's coming up as well. So I have a couple examples around that.
Yeah,
But I
okay.
mean, I mean, there's a
Sure,
bunch
yeah,
going
yeah.
on.
Well, so we'll get into it a little bit. Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess first of all, too, how'd you come up with the name Nichefire? I mean, I guess I understand the niche part, but yeah, I'd love any insight into that you have about the name, and maybe tell us a little bit of the background how you got started with it.
Yeah. It's actually funny because we didn't initially start with this cultural listening idea. Um, so the real background. So like Nichewire, we're supposed to be we're not to say supposed to be. We are the first cultural listening platform, but believe it or not, we actually got started with competitive analysis. So we got started back in like 2017, 2018. I used to be a digital marketing and social analytics manager, so I used to vet a lot of analytics and insights tools, and I became really obsessed with that practice. And so I actually like started a consulting firm to
Yeah,
help small businesses, especially in the greater Cincinnati area, to to tap into these capabilities that these analytics tools had to offer. After getting overwhelmed with that, I went on to start Nichefire with the initial intention to use AI to analyze brand social media content and advertising and compare them with competitors. So the name Nichefire is just something we were just say like, hey, what's a good name? We built out a big list and found that Nichefire. We were able to buy the domain name for that, and so it's like, hey,
nice.
this works.
Yeah,
Um, but again, like that initial intention is, we were building an AI that could analyze that brand social media content and compare it with their competitors. But we struggled to get traction with that concept. We did get some like customers like U.S.
yeah.
Bank and whatnot onto the platform. We were really excited about that, but we eventually realized that we needed to go back to the drawing board. We
Hmm.
needed a pivot. And so fast forward to 2022, the team that we were working with at US Bank actually came back to us. They're saying, hey, we use all these social listening tools, but none of them can help us identify and predict emerging trends, themes, topics, and whatnot without us knowing what to search for. So that was a huge problem. When you don't know
Okay,
what you don't know, you're leaving potentially millions of dollars worth of value on the table. And so,
right.
so I went back. I took a bunch of old data we had. I built out a Tableau dashboard out of that and showed it
Nice.
to them. And
Yeah,
right then and there, they were like, "We want a pilot. Let's try this out." And so, from there, we thought we were onto something. So I
yeah.
polished it up. Polished up that prototype. We started shopping around to some other companies and to see if they had the same problem. And lo and behold, every company we talked to just had this same sort of problem. And from
Wow.
there, we knew we were onto something, and that led to where we are now with our current platform. So.
I love it. It's almost like while you were talking, I was thinking like, I mean, it's the holy grail, right? It's like a crystal ball, right? I mean,
Mhm,
everybody wants to know kind of what's imagine if we would have known 5 years ago that AI and generative, open AI would have, you if we
mhm,
would have known that that's where we'd be, what decisions you might have made differently. So I can imagine
mhm.
brands, man, would hugely eat that up.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
Um, So yeah, tell us a little bit about the data you collect. I mean, and just being a data guy myself, and obviously you don't have to go into all the nooks of it, but I guess when I'm thinking, I always probably try to think of myself like, okay, if somebody came to me and said, hey, you have to do this, I'm thinking in my head like, how would I get the data? Where would I, where would you even start? Because it's so massive. So maybe give us a little
Mhm.
insights into the data that you guys mine.
So, sure thing. So the magic really is behind the diversity and the data sets that we bring in. So we built out this system that pinpoints trend signals from all over the web. So in these data sets, they represent various inputs from consumers. So for instance, like we'll measure like web traffic and search traffic data, and this gives us some understanding of like what consumers might be interested in, based on
Yeah.
what they're plugging, what are they searching for. And we use social media and forums and blogs data to help measure how consumers share their opinions, how they express themselves. And then we'll use sources like news and podcasts and influencer data to help us understand how are consumers influenced. And so we bring these all together to help you understand in a really dynamic way how culture and how trends play out. So for instance, if a trend starts on TikTok, and become how does it become a trend on Google, and then how does it become a story in the news? But through our platform, you can activate all this data in two ways. So one is what we call what we call our default engine. So
Okay.
this is a syndication of all the top emerging trends that we've picked up, across Twitter or X. I still call it Twitter,
Yeah.
but
It's okay.
TikTok, Google, that sort of thing. It's essentially like a 10,000 foot view of what's happening in the world, and you can segment it across 40 or 50 different cultural categories. So like entertainment topics or politics, travel, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then we have what we call our strategic engine. And so this is powered by a generative AI that we built. We call our Fire Search engine. And so essentially, you can plug in anything you want, any topic you want. It could be gut health, it could be sustainability, it could be Taylor Swift, whatever you want. And the
Right.
system, it'll continuously pull in new emerging trends around that topic for you. It's pretty cool. So I
Yeah,
really
I
love
can't
playing
wait
around
to
with
see it. That's awesome. Do you actually, I mean, not that this is probably overkill for most people, but do you actually have partners that you get the data from, or do you actually had to build software to like go collect all this?
it. So yeah, so we don't sell any like scraped data, unless there's like a special use case or something like that. So all of our data comes from APIs that we
Okay.
have direct relationships with, or data vendors, data partners, and whatnot that we've been able to build up over time.
That makes sense. Awesome.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and you hit on a little bit of the AI component of that as well. Is that kind of after you get the data, you're kind of using AI to kind of interpret it, or maybe give us a little bit more detail on the AI component of it?
Uh, there are a lot of components. I will say so. Like ChatGPT has been getting that spotlight quite a bit lately, but we
Right.
often forget that ChatGPT is actually just a type of AI. So AI is really an umbrella of diverse methodologies of applied data science. And so in our platform, we have a number of models that we built that use various fundamentals of AI. So for one, like we have our own generative AI we call Fire. So I referenced that earlier. Um, so this is essentially just a large language model that sits on top of all of our data, has taps into the web. It's dedicated to finding emerging trend signals and reporting them to you. And it feeds into another model that we built that will query all that information from all the data sources that we collect. Another AI that we build is actually the prediction engine that uses all those variables from the different data sources, the qualitative, quantitative variables that come from those data sources to make robust time series forecasts for all the trends that we ingest into our system. And then we have, dozens of natural language processing models and unsupervised machine learning models that will measure and classify various texts and data to make sense of the information that we bring in. And so, like,
Yeah.
a great example too is like we built our own unsupervised machine learning model that goes out and identifies all these emerging themes that are driving the trends that we bring into the platform. So needless to say, like AI is actually a major driver of a lot of the outputs in our platform, and it's really dynamic what you can do with all these different models that AI brings to the table.
Super cool. Thanks for sharing all that. Yeah, I love kind of the practical nature of it. And I understand, I think you're gonna show us the product as well, right? Is that right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If you want, I can fire it
Yeah,
up and
I
let's
think
do
we're
it.
good. Yeah, I'd love to see it.
All right,
I
let's
think we'll
see. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Share screen. Cool. Can you see that?
Yep, here we go.
Awesome. So I actually just logged into the platform. When you log into our platform, this is the first page you see. It's like our landing page, but we call it Discovery. So this is literally a syndication of top emerging trends that we're seeing across all of our platforms. You can see like what's
Nice.
going on over the past week and that sort of thing, and you can click in to any one of them, and our AI generates a description and analysis of the activity for that. A heads up of like why it matters and whatnot, and gives you some categorizations from that as a result. But
Yeah, super cool.
this is one of those areas where you're just like, hey, I've just logged in. What's going on? Now, the
Right.
real meat of the platform really starts with what we call our trend topics. So we have like a million here, but this is where you set up an environment in our platform, so where you can start collecting data around those two data engines I referenced earlier. So you have that default processing engine where all you have to do is select, hey, which cultural categories do I want to prioritize for that, and our system's going to continuously collect those top trends from all these platforms for you based on those categories. So it could be anywhere from traveling outdoors to space to you know design and the markets and that sort of thing, financial topics or arts entertainment topics, whatever you want.
And
But
this is specific to you, like when I log in, I could set it up the way I wanted, and
mhm,
somebody else could set it up completely differently, right?
precisely. So think of this as like a 10,000-foot view of what's happening in the world, and it just brings in all that data. Um, but what's
Right.
really cool is what we call our strategic processing engine. So this is tapping using our Fire Search generative AI, where you can plug anything you want. Say I'm interested in like gut health or something like that.
Yeah.
So I type in gut health. What it's going to do is identify all those top emerging trends pertaining to gut health. It's looking at our data. It's looking at our data set. It's looking at its taps into the web, and it's segmenting all those different trends from that. And so right now, it's going out. It's listing out those trends for you. You see, like
Love
green
it.
tea kombucha,
Really slick
pineapple.
interface too. I like it.
Thank you.
It's really clean
So
and makes sense.
and so right now it's collecting different trends. You can select the time frame you want. So like, hey, I'm interested in the past 3 months. What that means is that it's going to go out and it's going to find all the top trends that from the past 3 months for that given topic. So you can see like some of the like leaky gut solutions, chicory root for insulin, um, probiotics and appetite, fermented sauerkraut benefits, stuff like that. So those are trending communities and topics being discussed.
Right.
Um, Now we have in QA right now a language and location-based capability that's going to be launching actually before the end of the year. So actually like early December, that's going to be something that we're
Okay.
launching. So essentially, you can actually dictate specific regions in the world that you want to prioritize for that. So, like, what trends are happening around gut health in the UK or in Nigeria or in India, whatever you'd want.
Right.
And we're going to be working on a feature that'll allow you to map those trends from one region to the next. So, if something starts in Japan, did it transcend to the United States or something like that? So you'd be able to map those kinds of things. What's really cool too is that throughout the whole platform, you can access that little generative AI function here, just anywhere you want. I can go into I can go back to that discovery page. There it is,
Uh-huh.
Fire Search. You can play around with that, and so
Oh,
anywhere
cool.
in the
Yeah.
platform you can access that. And so now let's say I created one of like that, an example of that topic, right? Well, it just happened I was looking at this one recently. Um,
Yeah.
so this one was like an example for like Michael's stores that we were working on. But you can
Okay.
navigate to your trend topic that you created here. Select any one of those that you want. Um, you can set up which timeframes you want to focus on. You can set up which platforms that you want to focus
What's
those
that
trends in.
graph below too? That's really cool. The
Oh
mainstream.
yeah. So when I go to the dashboard, this is where I start. So I have these top identified trends, a nice little carousel of what's going on there. But then we call this our moments matrix. So what the moments matrix does is it maps out um, all the top emerging trends from the trend topic you created. So with this example, what was the prompt for this one?
That's super cool.
Okay, so the prompt. Oh, whoops. The prompt for that one was okay. Literally typing in mindful crafting into that Fire Search prompt. So what it's doing is it's going out, it's fishing for emerging trends, and it maps them on this moments matrix. And so we partnered with a group called the Social Intelligence Lab to bring this to light. And what you can see is a mapping of those trends based on the level of growth that it's seeing. Is it more like gradual, kind of tapered off growth, or is it like very steep growth?
I
And
see.
then you can measure based on how mainstream it is. Like, is this a trend that's very diverse on very diverse channels, all sorts of cultural categories, or is it more niche? Like, hey, this is a Reddit community that's just talking about sewing and knitting, that sort of thing. And so what you can do is like you can just hover over any one of these, see which ones are being like whittling and wood carving is a
That
trend,
is
or
awesome.
meditation and DIY projects, or meditative crafting of fiber arts. And you can click into any one of these. What happens is that you'll open up a what we call it like a trend summary page. And
Wow.
so
That was
and so this
super
trend,
cool.
yeah. So what happens is that you get a summarization of what's going on with that trend. So this little description right here, this description and activity analysis, this is a totally AI generated analysis and in description based off of the data that's coming in. So it's our system kind of telling you, hey, here's what this trend is, here's the activity, and why it matters. And then you can compare and contrast like the volume from all the different data sources that we look at over time, and you can actually see, hey, what is the what's its trajectory? What's its weekly change, percent change? What's the sentiment behind that? What are some
Oh,
primary keywords that are driving it, right? And now, say if I wanted to go a bit more granular and explore, like, hey, what are people in the community saying about it? So I can take it to this Explorer view, and so you can see like here's what that sentiment looked like over time, and here are some of the primary cultural categories that are driving that.
oh
And
wow.
now this is an example of like a like unsupervised machine learning in place. So this is where you can pick up on what is it like emerging themes that are driving that trend, right? So like crocheted gifts and keepsakes, knitting techniques, knitting projects, Christmas theme, crochet projects, crochet blanket projects. I can click in on that and
Wow.
explore. I can
Sounds like
explore
something
like
my wife and daughters would like. They kind of all into that stuff too.
yeah. And so like I can explore, like our system will help you do an analysis of that cluster. So like this theme is about the various crochet blanket projects showcasing different styles, patterns, and personal achievements in creating blankets. And then you can actually go in and click in and see what people are talking about. They're sharing their different projects in
Oh
their Reddit
wow.
community and that sort of thing. And so like
That
this
is
is a
super
little turtle
cool.
project. It was kind of cool. But you can actually go in and dive in and explore what people are talking about within the platform right then and there. And then we have what we
Wow.
call our sentiment view. And so this maps out the like the emotional resonance for each of those themes that we picked up on. And so we assign every conversation that comes in our platform what we call a sentiment score. And so if you're familiar with like how social listening will do like like sentiment analysis, it's kind of binary where it's like, hey, is this positive or this negative? We do it a little
Yeah.
bit we do it a little bit differently, where every comment gets a sentiment score measurement from -100 to 100. And there are a couple models that we use as like a benchmark. Like Google has their own. There's one called Vader and stuff like that. But we kind of made a little bit of our own flavor of this. So a good way to think
Huh.
about this is if you bring in a comment that says, "Hey, that's good," that's positive. But if you compare it to a comment that says, "Hey, that's great," it's also positive. But that's great's going to have a bit more umph
I
behind it, so you're
like
going to
it.
see a higher score for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have done some stuff with sentiment. Like I've had some fun with it. I guess I'll have to
Mhm.
update in January, but I put like all the presidential inaugurations through the inaugural addresses, what the president says when he gets elected through, and I created this
Yeah.
dashboard of it. So
Mhm.
I had a lot of fun with it. But this kind of takes it to another level, even with because yeah,
Mhm.
you're right. It's mostly the model that I used was a Microsoft product, and it was basically, you got a
Mhm.
score and it was either negative or positive, but you don't know if it was like I mean, I guess it was the confidence and how much that it agreed that that it how confident it was that it was negative or positive, but not to the level that you're
Mhm.
doing. So that's super cool.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and then there's this expressiveness measurement as well that measures like the length and strength of the language. So it kind of helps you understand how detailed of a conversation people are having in some of these communities. So it's pretty cool. Um, and we take it down. We have this forecasting measurement piece here, where we can look at like what's the estimated forecast over the next month. We actually have a really big update coming for this that we're excited about, where you actually be able to see confidence bands for that given time series forecast, and it's going to be continuously trained over time for that. So you'll be able to see 1, 3, 6, and 12-month forecasts for individual platform, like for instance, all the individual platforms we bring in or aggregated platforms we bring in, and then you can see a breakdown of what's trending on what platforms at what periods of time too, which is just pretty cool.
Wow.
Um, Now we also have like a reporting feature as well. Now this is actually here. Let me show it. I'll just show a quick example of like what a report looks like. Um, I don't have any set up in here right now, but we have
Yeah, it's okay.
we work with a lot of like enterprises. So um, you know one of the big benefits of a platform like ours is the capability to democratize these kinds of trends across a big organization. So for instance, this is an example like around like collagen peptides. So like a big organization like a Nestle, for instance, like they have hundreds of stakeholders that want to be in the know on a regular basis of top emerging trends pertaining to them. And so we have an automated reporting system that'll do that. They'll just do that for them.
Oh
So
wow.
so this is a totally AI generated report that comes from our platform. It gives you a detailed analysis of any trend that comes in. What are some key themes that are driving that? So this one's around like collagen peptides. It's like a really prominent ingredient, especially for like functional foods and protein, protein enhanced foods and that sort of thing. Um, it's just like that's collagen powders, or vital proteins, marine collagen, collagen in coffee, collagen for skincare. Those are emerging cultural trends
Wow.
that are driven from our platform, and our system does like a detailed analysis of all of that. It's pretty cool.
How are just one question while you're right there too is like, super cool stuff. What are kind of some of the titles of the people that use like I could imagine like some kind of brand manager or um but yeah, I don't know any insight into like what other kind of people are using it as would be great.
So there are a lot of use cases, and we primarily sell to like consumer insights and social intelligence folks, but we're also seeing, a lot of opportunities, and like with like innovation, brand managers, corporate comms teams, and stuff like that. But like we primarily sell to like those consumer insights folks. But again, like there are a lot of use cases, but
Yeah.
the most prominent for us, the most prominent use case that we drive is around opportunity spotting. So whether it's new product opportunities, new marketing campaigns, corporate initiatives, whatever can drive some sort of top line value, that's what we drive. And so we're essentially here to help identify those unknown unknowns that are out there, and so that way those consumer insights and those social intelligence practitioners and those teams in those organizations can drive more value.
Yeah,
Like I
so it's
said
kind of
earlier, yeah,
like the what's the famous quote by Wayne Gretzky or whatever, like, he knew where the puck was gonna go next, or I'm not a huge hockey
yeah,
person, but I think that's kind of what you're getting at, right? Is like you have to kind of know where it's going because then you can kind of capitalize on it
yeah.
and
But but uh, but especially for these stakeholders, when you don't know what you don't know, I mean, there's millions of dollars just left on the table simply because you're not aware of it. You're not aware of the opportunities that exist. Like for
right,
instance, like McKinsey, for instance, they found that companies focusing on innovation can achieve growth rates 2 to 3 times higher than their peers if they're on top of innovation opportunities. And on the other hand, like there's a statistic from Forrester that was claiming that companies that I think it was fail to innovate risk losing up to 50% of their annual revenue to a more agile competitor over a 5-year period. So needless to
right.
say, nobody wants to be the one to let an opportunity slip.
Right. Do you mind sharing if you can, and you don't have to use the name if you can't, but like that story you shared kind of in that meeting where, this big food manufacturer, basically you guys help them kind of get into a different product line. Love
Mhm.
to hear about that because that was a super, super great use of this technology.
Yeah, well, I mean, we actually wrote an article on that too, so I can share it. So,
Nice.
I co-presented with Nestle, and we shared an article with Nestle, recapping that. But it's a great example of tapping into those kind of cultural trends. So, um, and so like over a year ago or so, GLP-1 drugs came to market. They're really, really, really becoming popular, starting to become
Is that like the
popular.
weight loss, like
Yeah,
Ozempic and that kind
like
of thing? Okay.
Ozempic, Wegovy, those kinds of drugs,
Okay.
and so we started picking up on those emerging trends around that. But what was also really prominent there too, so I mean, like, I'll put it this way too. I mean, like some of the big stories around those, we have like Oprah Winfrey stepping down from Weight Watchers because
Right.
she admitted she was taking Ozempic, and then you know I think it was Khloe Kardashian. It's either Khloe it was Khloe Kardashian. I think has her own GLP-1 line, stuff like that. So all these celebrities are getting a lot of attention, but the reality is that the communities that are taking these drugs are sharing some of their pain points and consumption occasions around that, and those are starting to pick up. And so, for instance, people were sharing about how now that they take Ozempic, their portion control is out of whack, or
Yeah.
they can't enjoy the foods that they used to because there's certain ingredients that just really upset their stomach now that they're on Ozempic. And so Nestle did a wonderful job, picking up on some of those early signals and then validating that research with the rest of their tool stack and taking it to their innovation and R&D teams to then produce a new product called Vital Pursuit. Vital Pursuit, think of it as like a lean cuisine, but for those that take GLP-1 weight loss drugs, it's
Right,
it's
right.
specifically catered to those individuals. Now, the importance behind this, it's not necessarily like, hey, cool, let's jump on this. It was very thoughtful on how they were doing this, and the reason being why this is important and why every food and bev company should be thinking about this is that you know for multiple decades there's been an obesity epidemic, especially here in the United States,
Yeah.
and now there is a pharmaceutical solution that's actually quite effective at combating that, but it's very expensive. So it's like $1,500 a month, unless you have type 2 diabetes, in which your health insurance provider will cover that. But it's
Right.
only a matter of time before your healthcare providers, like or these pharmaceutical companies, I should say, are going to lobby. It's only a matter of time before they're successful in lobbying these health insurance providers, like Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, are successful in lobbying health insurance providers to offer this for a weight loss use case. It's only a matter of time, and we're already seeing,
Right.
some
Yeah.
examples of that starting to happen
I
in the
would
market. And what that's just going to mean is that there's going to be more and more consumers taking these kinds of drugs because
right.
the accessibility is increasing for that. And so Nestle, like started in the market with this, but now we're starting to see like Smoothie King, and Smoothie King offer. There's new product lines out there that are for those that are taking GLP-1 weight loss drugs. It's starting, and
Wow.
um, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Cause yeah, I know some people that take that and they've told me, it kind of it changes and you have to, you have to seek out more proteins and different, like,
Hmm.
things that you wouldn't think of because you don't feel like eating as much, so when you do eat, you really have to be more specific about,
Hmm.
what you consume, unlike me.
Hmm.
Wow, that's super cool. What a great use of that technology. Um, yeah, maybe let's shift gears slightly. One question I did have come to my mind. Is your platform kind of a subscription based model? Like for if somebody
Hmm.
wanted to, okay,
Yeah,
got it.
it's totally self-service. It's yeah, it the main way the way we sell it is you get a subscription to the amount of strategic topics that you need. So
Okay.
on average, I mean, we will, for an average first year contract, we sell, like about 20 of those topics.
Okay. Right, that makes sense. Yeah, because then that's great. Because then you're not, necessarily, if you only care about like gut health, like you're talking about, you don't have to pay for. Maybe just switch gears a little bit. Talk about, what's this journey been like? What's it like being in a startup, and kind of what is. I mean, well, first I should say I'm super impressed with what you showed for. I mean, the amount of time you've been working on this, that's super impressive.
Thank you.
But so I hope you're not offended being called a startup, but just
I
kind of
mean, we're
maybe
still very much
just walk us through what that's like, how'd the journey go? How did you even know, like, hey, this is a real business? Any insight you can provide would be awesome.
oh gosh. Um, I'll start by saying this: startups are very hard. It's really hard to know where to start. And one thing that really helped me was using tools like the business model canvas, reading as much as I can about startups. So like the lean startup and crossing the chasm, those big books and stuff like that are really popular. Just getting organized is the key to a good foundation.
Okay.
And also finding good mentors, who have done this before. That's a must. I mean, just whoever you can find to mentor you in this space. Like, I highly recommend that, because one of the big things that, like, as I mentioned, in my founding story on that, we started off with competitive analysis, but it took us a while to figure out, like, the traction is just not there. We need to go back to
Right.
the drawing board. And you know, albeit, I mean, we technically started a whole new business in 2022, but we kept the name, and we had, it was like the name actually works better for this cultural trend piece. Um,
Right. Right.
but it's but the other thing there too is like we got to go back at bat to go and validate. I mean, when you start again, organization is key. Make sure that you have proof that people want it. I mean, a lot. I get pitched a lot of times. Or people asking me, is like, "Hey, is this a good idea?" That sort of thing. I'm like, don't ask me. Ask who you want to sell it to. Get enough proof that people that would want like that people want to buy it. That sort of thing. And so, like, I've done a lot of that. I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of professionals in this space just to organize my notes to make sure I'm doing the right things. The other thing is too is you have to be prepared for very frequent gut punches and be able to celebrate even those small wins. Um, but overall, I mean, this stuff gets me jazzed every day. I love it, and I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. But my day is going to be very different from many other startup founders and incoming startup founders, and I don't believe any startup founder is going to have the same kind of day to day as another. So
Right.
when
That's
it comes to
super
like
cool.
yeah, like when it comes to like my role though, I like to say I'm Nichefire's biggest cheerleader. So I'm here to motivate everyone to push the needle to reach the vision. So I play multiple roles. So I'm semi-technical, so I have deep expertise in this space. I'm often helping our technical team out with ideas and helping them understand what our customer problems are. Then I also help our team on the sales end. So I'm out pitching new business. I'm our account manager. I work closely with a lot of our clients and partners to make sure that they're receiving the very best that we can offer. And I'm also our pitch man, so I'm out pitching to investors quite frequently to make sure that we have the capital that we need to succeed. So wear a lot of hats,
Wow.
and a lot
Yeah.
of
It's a
wear
lot.
yeah, and a lot of startup founders are going to wear multiple hats like myself. We're currently wear multiple hats, and the key signal I'd probably say of a company that's starting to mature um, is when that founder is able to start offloading some of those hats onto um, very very savvy and trustworthy people. That I'll say this too. Like one of the biggest struggles for me when I was starting my business was you know having the confidence to delegate important things to other people, being able to build that trust. You can't just duplicate yourself as much as you want to. You have to start feeling comfortable with leading the team and being able to delegate to those in the team and making sure and just fully trusting them. And so I make sure that I like to I like to make sure that like the people that I bring on are much smarter than me than
Yeah.
anything. So like I don't like to be the smartest person in the room about things. So I make sure that I find people that are just really good at what they do. So
Oh, that's super smart. Yeah, a couple comments. I one guest I had on, shout out to Bill Balderez. I had him on a while ago. He's a great leader up in Columbus, has a company, and he said almost exactly what you did about testing the market. He's like, if somebody's not willing to pay for it, it's a bad idea. And he's kind of
mhm,
broken my heart a few times because I've had a number of ideas that have I didn't get to that stage. So, but he's absolutely right, and I think you're definitely right with
mhm,
that same thing, because if it's easy to kind of come up with an idea and not know, but really if somebody's willing to pay for it, that's the ultimate test.
mhm. It's the
So
ultimate test.
one more question, I guess, just about like the investing and stuff. How do you, or getting investors? Do you have to? Is that something that you have to do quite often? Is it kind of like once you kind of get the funding, you're good for a long time, or is it something you kind of have to constantly monitor? Um,
Well, every founder is going to have a different story around that. And every founder is going to have everybody's business is different. Some people are able to bootstrap and they don't need funding. That's awesome. And actually, too, I mean, for us, we bootstrapped for a really long time, and until we were just like, yeah, we need some capital to really accelerate what we're doing. We have enough validation. We should get some capital so that way we can actually go to the market with something more efficiently and effectively. And so I mean, and that was like our ultimate decision as to why we did that. But um, what really I will say that I will say, I mean, if you have the means to go out without financing and investments, so like if you can bootstrap, do whatever you can to do that. Um, like I wish I was a millionaire and I could just go into a company and just invest with my own dollars and that
Right.
sort of thing,
Yeah,
but unfortunately I don't. So, and also
exactly.
too, I need people smarter than me as well too to help me with building the product, and so that costs money. so,
Right.
so I mean, like that. So we need those resources. And but I mean, I'm not. I mean, right now we're in the midst of like closing a big big seed round, right? And so I've been pitching. I've been pitching and worrying about the investment side for quite a bit, especially over this past year. Um,
Right.
but but usually it's kind of like it's cyclical in nature. Like you close an investment round, that investment round gets you enough runway to go out and test the things that you tell your investors that you're going to test out until hey you either need more funds or hey you're actually becoming profitable. So um,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, really it varies from business model to business model too. Some companies are really prioritizing rapid growth, very very fast growth, and they're constantly needing to go for the next fundraise and for the next fundraise, sort of thing. Other companies are focused on their business model and generating revenue and that sort of thing, and yeah, they might need financing later, but their objective is to build up enough to the point where you're getting cash flow break even or something like that. So you have some different types of priorities for that business. Um, but then yeah, yeah. So I mean, like it varies from business to business. I mean, we're a revenue generating business. Our objective is, we have we have XYZ things that we want to accomplish with our product, and then we have XYZ things that we need to test out for growth. And so we need dollars to put towards that. And our
Right.
objective is to hit a revenue milestone, cash flow break even, or even get to profitability. That's at least a big objective for us is that we want to reach that sort of milestone and figure out like, hey, what are those levers that, that we can invest in that will, that we can guarantee can increase growth more effectively as well. And
Right.
so yeah, so it definitely varies from
Oh,
business to business. And it's definitely cyclical, but you know, founders always have to be on their toes and that sort of thing. And like I'd probably say, like I'll probably be thinking about the next round in a couple months. Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's a kind of, being self-employed. I'm kind of a little bit, not that I'm going out and looking for funders, but like same thing with looking for clients. It's like you're good for a little bit and then you kind of, then you kind of can't let your foot
Mhm,
off the gas because then it'll, you know how that goes. But
mhm.
well, super cool. I'm super impressed. It's amazing what you guys have been able to accomplish in a short time. I mean, it's just a incredible looking product. And if people want to learn more about you or the company, I guess what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, for one, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Love it. You can send me messages, that sort of thing. You can hit me up via email as well. I could send it. My email is mhoward MHOWARD at nichefire.com.
Okay.
So please feel free to reach out to me via email. But yeah, so I
Yeah.
mean, happy to hear your questions, or if you're interested in learning more, just love to hear it.
All right. Well, with that, that wraps up another episode. But thank you so much, Michael. This was super helpful and gives me a lot to think about. And but you should be happy and impressed with what you guys have done. It's super impressive. So
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it, Andy.
you're welcome. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thanks again. I hope everybody has a great holiday. If we don't see you beforehand, take care.
Take care.